Toxin, a microwave from approach, focusing down stalkers one by one.
Coming in from every single angle. There's a Time Lord, but look at this concave, this crescent moon.
This is what's going to happen now. The supply goes in Huck's favor. He's just going to barrel through, take out whatever. So much file here coming forth.
Looking like Nesty is going to take it here.
Dancing the roaches a little bit. Scarlet. Now the Hydras are exposed. Those Vegeta's going to die, and it's only going to make that much of a difference. GG.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from a little bit of a cloudy New York City, a very rainy day today. You're watching the WCS America Challenger League. This is day 2 of the group bracket stage. Of course, we're going to be finishing up the bracket stage of the Challenger League all of this week. Of course, yesterday we saw a lot of awesome matches. A lot of awesome matches lined up today as well, but I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav. How you doing today, man?
Doing excellent. We saw some amazing matches in the round 2 of the bracket yesterday. Today we're going to finish off the entirety of the round 2 of the Challenger bracket.
Yes.
Then of course the rest of this week we're going to see round 3 of that Challenger bracket and see who advances to the Premier League. Here's the bracket in front of you right now. Yesterday we saw Top take out Phoenix and Jim take out Vi. Of course, other matches in round 2 that aren't resolved yet, those are happening live today. Ian versus Major in State versus Theognis. Of course, there's another half of the bracket we can show you right now.
Yep, of course, 2 halves of this bracket, a lot of matches coming your way. Ghost User versus Kapach happened yesterday. Kapach taking the 2-1 surpriser there. He's going to be advancing to play Nesty. Today, we got Neeb versus Puck. That's an exciting one. I think that's up second or third. Then we have Illusion versus Tasia, which already happened. Tasia taking out Illusion 2-1. Of course, Illusion taking game 1 there. So scared a lot of people. Almost made it past Tasia. He's going to be playing Polt a little bit later in the week. And then rounding out the day, we're going to have XY versus DeMuslim. So let's take a look at that match-specific card of what exactly is going on today, what you have to look forward to. Starting off with Major versus Ian, TVZ, then Puck versus Neeb, State versus Theognis, and DeMuslim versus XY. And all these matches coming your way, they're all going to be best of 3s. And again, the winners will be advancing on to the next round of the bracket stage to face the losers of the round of 16 of the Premier League from Season 1. And the losers of all these matches will drop to the secondary Challenger League, portion. It's the group stage, the up and downs, where the top 3 stay in WCS America. 4th place is out. So lots of awesome matches coming your way. And we're going to be starting with Major versus Ian. And this is a very cool match for many reasons, of course. Let's start talking about Major. He's the player who hails from Mexico, but recently he decided he wanted to go to Korea to play on a Casper Pro Team. Of course, it's a simple decision to decide you want to do that, but actually being able to do it is very difficult. He got the invitation, though, played those practice matches, got along well with the team, and he got invited over there to be on Kespa Team 8. He's the only foreign player, only non-Korean player on a Kespa team right now. So great accomplishment there, and honestly one of those American hopes in the WCS America.
One of the guys a lot of people are looking forward to kind of drive through that American success. In fact, in StarCraft 2 history, he's the only non-Korean player to play for a Kespa team in StarCraft 2. Of course, Bruder, there's a couple others. It's always been a dream of his, and now that he's accomplished it, we've seen some great things from him. In the round of 32 of the Premier League, he did lose to Alive and Hero, but
yes,
that's no shame losing to great players like that.
Two of the best players in WCS America. Both those players are in the round of 8. So a pretty tough group draw in the round of 32. So he's definitely here to play. Of course, I think he defeated... who did he defeat in the first round? Was it Maker? I think it was a TBT.
Yes, I want to say... Or, no, DeMuslim played Maker.
Xenocider. It was Xenocider. He 2-0'd Xenocider. But, of course, he's going to be facing off against Ian. Ian is from Taiwan, a team called Yo Ironman. And he defeated Minigun 2-1 in the first round of the Challenger League bracket. But he's a guy we don't really know much about.
That's right. You know, a lot of people I think would have bet on Minigun, as Minigun's one of the more successful American players. And like you mentioned, Ian's a relatively unknown player, but taking out Minigun's a pretty big move. If he can take out Major, all of a sudden a lot of people are going to be looking at him saying, how good is this guy? For so long, Taiwan has been Sen. Like that's the Taiwanese scene is Sen dominating everybody. And Ian could step up there and say, you know what? You know, Sen is still probably the main figurehead, but there's other people in Taiwan who are really darn good at StarCraft 2 as well.
Well, the players in the lobby right now, I just asked if they're ready, and they gave me confirmation. So the countdown has begun. Game 1 of this best of 3 is going to be on Neo Planet S again. This is a match that will determine who's going to move on in the Challenger League bracket stage, of course, getting closer to that Premier League spot in Season 2 that's so important. And, of course, who's going to fall down to the group stages of the Challenger League. But here we are in game number 1 of the night. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday evening. Maybe it's getting a little bit later in Europe, but you're staying up to watch. You are completely awesome. Remember, guys, hashtag WCS to get your tweet featured on stream. And, of course, join the conversation on Team Liquid, on Reddit, on Twitter, and talk about these matches because they're pretty awesome. But I have the pleasure of being able to introduce our players in this match number 1. In the top right-hand location of Neo Planet S, I present your Red Terran player who hails from Mexico, currently living in Korea, playing for Kespa Team 8. He is Major. Of course, took out Xenocider 2-0 in the round 1 of the bracket stage. Facing off against his opponent in the bottom left-hand location of Neo Planet S, the Blue Zerg player hailing from Taiwan and representing Team Yo Ironman. He is Ian. Of course, Ian got to this point by qualifying through the Challenger League qualifier and then defeated Minigun 2-1. Again, we don't know too much about him, and it's interesting from Major's perspective. I mean, it's not necessarily a guy you can prepare for. It's not like you're gonna know a bunch about his style because not a lot of his games are out there. It's the simple fact. So we'll have to see how Major approaches this.
This is something that can really affect certain players. If you're talking about someone like Illusion or like Theognis or these guys who really like to make some more prepared builds for their opponents, well, maybe not so much Theognis, but there's a lot of players who love to do those prepared type builds. Europe, you definitely see that with Todd and Grubby to a certain extent. Major is one of those guys who I feel Major is really just focused on playing an insanely solid game. So he's almost more similar to Theognis I mentioned before, as a Terran player who I don't think is going to mind not knowing that much about his opponent because he's not really looking to do like a sniping build or a very specialist build. He's looking just to play a solid macro game and it'll just work against whoever he plays as long as he does it well enough.
Major's a guy who loves focusing on, obviously his macro, his mechanics are pretty high up there considering, again, he's in Korea right now playing for a Kespa team. So he's really good at StarCraft too. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him really push to the late game, really be active about scouting, I should say, making sure to keep those SCVs alive. Make sure those scans are timed appropriately because he does not want to be off guard. We see he just clicked on the gas there, just verifying that nothing is in fact there. So, a bunch of normal stuff coming from Ian, but Major definitely going to stay on top of his scouting, adding on 2 gases. Fairly standard play from both these guys so far.
It is, and you can see Major was definitely, he wanted to do a gasless expansion. And normally if a Terran wants to do a gases expansion, no early Reaper, no early Factory, nothing like that, no early Reactor, they typically go Command Center first because it's just a little bit more economically focused than the barracks before Command Center. Oh, is he going to get this Overlord?
How smart is this? Of course, I believe he saw this Overlord a little bit earlier with an SCV, and of course you can always guess that this Overlord is going in this direction, because normally the Zerg player will send the first Overlord to your natural expansion, then behind the mineral line. They'll send the second one to the top left hand of your base. So Major able to identify this, sending a Marine out there, and he will be able to kill that here. Oh my gosh! Oh,
I mean,
that Marine has to. He's like diving for the last shot, and now he's going to run from these lings saying, "Save me!" And the 2 guys come and save him. So nice pick off there from Major. It was a little bit more difficult than he had initially anticipated, I think, but getting that over the kill is always a great deal. It's actually a pretty big deal in the early game of ZVT.
Every single Overlord can be so important. If you think about it, not only is the Overlord going to use up 1 extra larva to replace, and it's 100 minerals, which could be 2 drones. Yep. But then it's the fact that it's 2 drones at the 5-minute mark or 5:30 mark, and those drones are 2 less. That's a lot of mining time you're losing. So it's even more than that because of the opportunity cost of just basically not having to get that Overlord instead of additional drones is very, very, very important to the Zerg player. Major progressing up to, he's going to react out a couple of Hellions. This is the most standard way you can play Terran, is you get your expansion, you get your macro going, and then you want to know what's coming at you. So you reactor out a couple of Hellions. The Hellions will basically deal with any Zerglings on the ground easily as long as they're slow Zerglings. And even once they get a speed upgrade, if you can get 4 or 6 Hellions, you can deal with those Speedlings as well. and you get that map vision to allow you to know, is my opponent taking a third? Is he taking on 2 bases, or is he going to do a lot of aggression with maybe roaches?
So Major actually skipping the Hellions for now, getting 2 Widow Mines out on the field. Those are going to be his first 2 units out of that factory. So a couple things he can do with these guys. He has a starport finishing up, so he could potentially add on a medevac and go for some sort of a marine Widow Mine drop. He can also scuttle those Widow Mines across the map and try to position them just outside the creep, just to be annoying with them. Or some Terrans, they love to do, putting a Widow Mine in the top pathway of Neoplanet S and putting another Widow Mine in the bottom pathway of Neoplanet S. We'll see some Terran players honestly put Widow Mines all across the map and potential third expansions from the Zerg players. So we'll have to see what Major decides to do here, and he's making 2 more Widow Mines, so he's up to 4 already.
I can't help but think this is a little bit of a risk for Major, because remember, without those Hellions, he had 0 sky on the map. He has no information about what his opponent's doing, and if he loads up all these Widow Mines into medevac, he's going to have nothing at home to defend against the roaches, and he's not even going to know the roaches are coming. As long as Ian, of course, hides them from this medevac, which he could easily do if he just sends them across the top path right now. And that's what he's doing. Oh, he's sending them across the bottom path. The medevac may see them.
Oh, I think the medevac's going to fly right over these roaches. And yes, Major is going to know exactly what's going on. He's going to ignite those afterburners, heading straight to the natural expansion. But he has to prepare back home because he knows a lot of roaches are coming forward here from Ian. 2 Spore Crawlers in production. 16 Ling's going to use those guys to try to defend against his aggression. A couple Widow Mines dropping down. Not doing too much damage, but the drones are having to be pulled. Meanwhile, what's going to be important here is the roaches and how much damage they can do across the map.
Roaches are trying to come in here to get action. There's 1 bunker. There's no Widow Mines on defense, but there is a siege tank. With that in siege mode and nothing to spot it from the low ground, Major should be okay against this roach.
Want to keep as many SCVs alive as possible. Secondary bunker getting placed down. Of course, the SCVs trying to keep those roaches from running past and getting out of that siege tank range. Major doing a good job with this tank, but some Ling's going to be following up here from Ian. He has 7 drones in production behind this, so it's not like he's all in. He's still focused on that economy, but now these roaches are trying to get out of range of that siege tank, and they're going to start being really annoying.
They're delaying mines at natural. The command center is actually taking a lot of damage, which is good for Major, although to be fair, there's not much else those Zerg units can do with the siege tank on the high ground. They have to stay back to natural. As soon as Major moves that second siege tank down, he's going to clean this up. But like you mentioned, it's not an all-in, and actually,
the tank kind of overextending a little bit. The Ling's going to try to get that surface area, but should be fine. And Major is going to be able to hold that push off. But the question is how much damage was done. We're seeing 14 workers killed there from Ian. Worker count is 47 to 35 in favor of Ian right now. But Major does have that tech advantage to a certain aspect. I think he might have the upgrade advantage as well. I don't even know if we have any evolution chambers on the field. Yeah, pretty much only roaches have been made here, and Lings from Ian. So no real progression. The layer is just about to finish, but you know, there's no clear-cut person who's in the lead right now, I think.
Major does have that 3rd orbital as well. That siege tank on the high ground was so key to Major's success there. That one guy was just instrumental. Yes. Look at 23 kills, in fact. Wow. He's actually going to be rewarded with being sent. He's being unsieged. He's just taking a break. He says, you know what, you guys can unsiege and just hang out there. But if you're a Terran player who wants to do something a little bit loose where you don't scout early, you send most of your early units to Widow Mines, and in this case, in a medevac to harass, it's always very smart to do what Major did and said, okay, just to be safe, get a siege tank early because I don't know what's coming. And I mean, if you didn't have that siege tank, if that was, let's say, some more Widow Mines instead, he would have been in for a real amount of trouble.
It was a fairly good move, of course, making the decision. I'm going to make 4 Widow Mines, and that's going to be my aggression in the early game. I'm going to follow that up with the tank just to stay safe from a potential all-in, because that's normally when, you know, a timed all-in or a timed pressure from the Zerg player will happen around that time when that tank would come out. So really smart move there from Major. And of course, while that was happening, he was placing down 2 engineering bases. So he always had a next step. And again, the 3rd orbital command, you talked about that a little bit too. So, you know, Major, you know, playing to the rest of the game, you know, not investing everything into worrying about that attack, having a game plan, having a next step.
What's really interesting here from Ian is he's upgrading to range attacks. So he's going to continue going down the route of roaches. And he's also, he was starting to get Overlord drop.
Yeah, I saw that. Did he cancel it?
He canceled it because what happened is his Overseer saw a double E-base. I think he thought, okay, Widow Mines and Siege Tanks, my opponent may be going mech. A great way to counter mech is just a giant roach drop onto production facilities, trying to mitigate those Siege Tanks on the high ground by just dropping right on top of them. And then when he saw double E-base and all the barracks with the Overseer, he's like, okay, if he's going bio, if I try to drop roaches on top of stim bio, they're going to be slaughtered. So let's refocus, get the Spire, get the Baiting Nest. He's still sticking with that range upgrade, but perhaps that may come into play later in the game.
trying to be annoying at this third. Major has sufficient defenses here. A lesser player, you know, might have had nothing at the third base there, and Ian might have been able to get some kills done. But, you know, Ian just keeping his opponent honest, really cool play there. Also placing a hatchery there at the bottom. One was about to finish, also getting Baneling speed. So, yeah, this +1 missile attack is very, a little bit strange, because normally if you're going for this Ling, Baneling, Muta composition, you're going to want the melee attacks for obvious reasons, because they help your Lings and Baneling. So, you know, we'll have to see where Ian decides to go from here, using all of his gas on Mutas.
He's trying to defend a creep with the speed needs, but it's not nearly enough, and Major's like, well, you want to run them at the Marines, I'll just gun them down as well. A lot of the creep teamers being cleaned up here.
Oh, Zergly's coming in, trying to get us around the Banelings as well, but Major's just going to pick up again. With those Mutas not in play just yet, the Terran player can do that. You know, they can go extend on the creep a pretty good amount and then get out of there before dying to pick up their units. But he's going to be dropping at this fourth base location as well. That's going to be very annoying indeed. And also, it's a great spot to pivot in between that fourth and the main base. There's a little bit of space to defend it by ground. It's going to be very difficult. But the Mutas are now in the field. Great Widowmine hit, by the way. The Mutas are now in the field, and that's going to be very helpful in preventing these drops.
But as long as he knows the Mutas are back there, he can continue to push in and clear all the creep away. The creep is so important to the Zerg and being able to fight against this Stim by Widowmine combination.
Gotta get those Widowmines down. I don't see an Overseer in the vicinity. A lot of shots going down onto these Lings. Major doing a lot of damage here. Look at the supply. 157 to 129 in favor of the Terran player. Just trying to go for those cost-efficient engagements. He has this third behind it, and he has the upgrade advantage. 2-2 is about to finish, and we see the melee attack just now, like halfway done here for Ian. So, and honestly, that missile attack, it really hasn't helped him much. I'm wondering if that was a misclick or something.
It may have been. It could have been one of those things where it's 3/4 of the way done, so he felt like might as well let it finish. But going forward here, the upgrade advantage, like you mentioned, is just playing such a toll on the Speedling's ability to combat the Marines.
Gosh, so much damage being done by Widowmines here and there. Major, very abusive with the placement of those guys. Finally going to be cleaning that up with an Overseer and a couple Mutas is Ian. But now a Force heading to the north side of the map. This is something you can do as Terran. Attack to the north, attack from the south. Just be absolutely relentless and not let your opponent breathe. And now we're in a tricky situation where Ian, he's taking these cost-inefficient engagements, but getting some decent Baneling detonations there. But again, Major just applying so much pressure, and continue with his tech and upgrade.
The Marines are cornered by the Speedies with the upgrades he has. They actually just kill all the Speedies. They're now backing away. Baning's in pursuit.
Muta's in pursuit as well. You don't want to lose these medevacs. The medevacs are the energy guys. They're going to be very helpful as the game goes along. You don't want to have to remake them. One medevac going down that had a lot of energy, but some Marines going to be stimming forward to provide some reinforcements. Widowmine's getting taken out as well. But, you know, Ian has been restricted to 3 bases here, and that's going to be a problem going forward. Major's been on 3 bases for a while, but he has the composition that can be much more cost efficient. Again, as a Zerg player, unless you're getting those really expensive units out that can really pay, pay back, like the Mutas, keeping those alive, very important, but like Infestors, Swarm Host, something like that. You know, Lings and Banelings, they're meant to die, and this is going to be more and more challenging here for Ian as Major gets more bases and Ian is unable to get a full.
Major is doing such a great job keeping the creep spread back across his northern path after he wants to attack.
The Banelings coming in a little bit at a time. Very strange from Ian, only engaging with a few Banelings at a time there. But Major absorbing some of the blows, trying to get that fourth on the ground. There is a Ling there being annoying. Muta's continuing to patrol the skies here from Ian. And he's still just focusing on sticking to this Ling, Baneling, Muta tech, adding more and more Mutas, adding more and more Lings, focusing on those upgrades. But he has a Hive on the way. Now, probably for 3-3, I'm not sure. You might try to do an Ultra transition of sorts, but you gotta have that fourth base if you're gonna want to really take advantage of the Hive tech.
And now Major's pushing out a creep on the south, but a big counterattack across the north side. Depots can defend, but he's got to get SCVs there.
Why are all the medevacs up there? That's really strange.
They're taking a break.
Fair enough. Marines coming back to help reinforce, and Major's going to be rendezvousing with those medevacs at the top. And at the same time, it looked like Muta's still looking at the bottom for things to potentially kill. Ian trying to be aggressive towards his additional bases, but Major's doing a great job splitting up his units to protect all of his bases. Oh, the Widowmines! Oh my god!
That was some insane hits there, and that was Ian's ace, was those Mutalists being able to consistently stop the drop play and pick off units as Major kites back. Losing those Mutalists before he's able to transition to Ultralisk is a really big blow, and his fourth has been delayed for so many times.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have that huge economy to get a giant 12 Ultralisk. Major with the 50 supply advantage pushing across the top.
Major definitely had a grin on his face as those Widowmines hit. And now he's going to stem up the top. I mean, a lot of Lings and Banelings here, but this isn't an army that's going to come back very freely. Ian's bank is very, very low. 200 middles, 500 gas. It's not like he can remax or anything like that. And trying to continue with his upgrades. +3 carapace on the way, adrenal glands as well. But again, Major is on 4 bases. He just has to be a little custom. He's going to be very happy. Again, only a few Banelings coming forward here from Ian. He's got to be sure to engage with all of his army at once, or it's going to be very tough for him. Again, more Lings coming in on their own accord, it seems, with more Banelings in the background, but it seems like Major just has way too much.
Major just with the supply advantage, able to keep the press across the top, denying the fourth yet again with this drop play, forcing a GG out of Ian. And man, that was just a game of just macro dominance by Major.
It was just complete commanding play, showing why he's considered one of the premier, Terran players from the Americas. The units lost at the end there actually told a pretty good story. 18,568 to 10,761. Wow. So Major really cost efficient throughout that game. And when you're restricting your opponent to 3 bases too, it's so hard to overcome that as a Zerg.
Yeah, Zerg really needs to just be able to consistently produce enough speedings, bannings, and mutas to hold back the Terran, and also transition to the Hive Tech. And we saw Ian really struggle with that. He was trying to fit into Hive Tech, the Ultras Cavern, the 3/3 upgrades near the end. He was trying to find the money. He just couldn't find the money. It was all because he never was able to really mine from that 4th base.
Yeah, Major outclassing Ian there in game number 1. But guys, this is a best of 3. Ian still has the ability to come back. He must win 2 in a row. Guys, stay tuned. Game 2 coming up between Major and Ian.